Hello students, this is a recording for Chapter 2. I aim to create a more engaging and captivating experience rather than simply narrating the chapter. I hope you find it enjoyable and, more importantly, insightful. Right, off to the chapter. Why is understanding the dynamics of markets imperative to our daily lives? This question might seem a little abstract at first, but when we dive into the world of markets, we realize just how connected we are to this invisible web of transactions. Imagine a bustling marketplace where countless transactions are taking place. You've got buyers seeking the best deals and sellers vying for their attention. Now, multiply this image a billion times over, and you've got a glimpse of the global economy, a massive network of markets. In these markets, goods and services are traded, prices are determined, and the wheels of commerce spin. At the core of these markets are the players, the buyers and sellers. Each buyer and seller has their own motivations and strategies, but they all share a common goal: to get the best possible deal. In a competitive market, no single buyer or seller has the power to influence the price. This is the beauty of competition. It ensures that prices are determined by the collective actions of all players, not by the whims of a few. This level playing field is crucial because it allows prices to reflect the true value of goods and services. But what drives the prices? What makes them rise or fall? The answer lies in the forces of supply and demand. On one hand, we have demand, which represents how much of a product consumers want to buy at different prices. On the other hand, we have supply, indicating how much of a product producers are willing to sell at various prices. The interplay between these two forces is what determines the price of a product. This dance between supply and demand is not just a dry economic theory. It's a living, breathing process that impacts everything from the price of your morning coffee to the cost of your dream home. It's a process that shapes our lives in countless ways, often without us even realizing it. The dynamics of supply and demand lie at the heart of these markets. And understanding these dynamics can help us navigate the world of markets with more confidence and insight. So let's dive in and unravel the mystery of markets together. Dive deep into the core of market dynamics, the laws of supply and demand. When you hear the words supply and demand, think of a dance between buyers and sellers, a dance that influences the price and quantity of goods or services in any marketplace. So, what's the story behind these two dancers? Let's start with demand. Demand is the desire of consumers to buy a product or service, and their willingness to pay a certain price for it. The law of demand says that as the price of a product decreases, consumers want more of it. In other words, lower prices make our wallets happier and we're more likely to buy. This relationship is illustrated by the demand curve, a downward sloping line that shows how the quantity demanded changes as the price does. But demand isn't just about price. Other factors like consumer preferences, income levels, and the prices of related goods can also influence demand. These non-price determinants can cause the demand curve to shift. For example, if incomes rise, people might demand more of a product even if its price stays the same, shifting the demand curve to the right. Now, let's meet the other dancer, supply. Supply is the amount of a product that producers are willing to sell at a given price. According to the law of supply, as the price of a product increases, producers are more motivated to sell it. After all, higher prices mean more revenue. This relationship is shown by the supply curve, an upward sloping line that shows how the quantity supplied changes with the price. Just like demand, supply isn't just about price. Changes in technology, the number of producers, and input costs can shift the supply curve. For instance, if a new technology makes production cheaper, producers might supply more of a product even if its price doesn't change, shifting the supply curve to the right. So we have our two dancers, supply and demand. They interact on the dance floor of the market, adjusting to each other's movements. But what happens when they meet? This is where we find market equilibrium. It's the sweet spot where the quantity that consumers want to buy equals the quantity that producers want to sell. At this equilibrium price and quantity, the market is balanced with no surplus or shortage. But remember, markets are dynamic. Movements along the supply and demand curves occur due to price changes themselves. If the price of a product increases, we move up along the demand curve as people buy less, and up along the supply curve as producers sell more. If non-price determinants change, the curves themselves might shift, leading to a new equilibrium. At the intersection of supply and demand, market equilibrium is born. This is where our dance ends, at least until the music of market conditions changes again. But that's a story for another day. For now, remember that supply, demand, and their interaction are crucial for market functioning. Understanding them is essential for comprehending economics, the point of balance in the market, where supply equals demand, is the market equilibrium. Picture a busy marketplace, a flurry of transactions happening at all times. Amidst this chaos, there's a point of calm, a point of balance. This is the market equilibrium. It's the magical sweet spot where the quantity of goods or services that sellers are willing to sell matches the quantity that buyers want to buy. Now, why is this equilibrium so important? Well, at this point, the market becomes efficient. There's neither a surplus of goods nor a shortage. Producers are selling exactly what consumers are willing to buy. It's a win-win situation. But remember, this equilibrium isn't static. It's dynamic. The equilibrium price and quantity aren't permanently fixed numbers. They dance to the tunes of supply and demand, adjusting and readjusting to find that perfect balance. So, how do we find this equilibrium? Imagine the demand and supply curves we discussed earlier. They intersect at a point. That's your market equilibrium. The price at this intersection is the equilibrium price, and the quantity is the equilibrium quantity. But let's not forget, markets are complex, with multiple forces at play. Changes in income levels, consumer preferences, and technology can shift the demand and supply curves. This, in turn, shifts our equilibrium. For instance, if there's a sudden increase in consumer income, the demand for goods could rise. The demand curve would shift to the right, and voila, we have a new equilibrium. On the other hand, if a new technology makes production cheaper, the supply curve might shift to the right, and again the equilibrium adjusts. In the end, market equilibrium is a balancing act, a continuous interplay of forces. It's a testament to the market's ability to self-regulate, to find that point of balance amidst the chaos. But what happens when external factors disrupt this balance? Jordan, one of the most water-scarce countries in the world, presents a compelling case study for understanding supply and demand dynamics. Then we have the demand side of the equation. The demand for water in Jordan has seen a significant surge, driven by an influx of refugees from neighboring regions. This increase in population has led to a higher demand for water, thereby shifting the demand curve upward. This is a crystal clear illustration of how external factors can cause a shift in the demand curve. It's interesting to note that in Jordan, the price of water doesn't necessarily follow the conventional laws of supply and demand. Because water is a basic human need, its price can't skyrocket, regardless of its scarcity. Therefore, the government often has to step in to subsidize the cost, adding another layer of complexity to the market dynamics. The gap between water supply and demand in Jordan is a pressing issue. This gap is not simply a matter of numbers, but a reflection of the country's socio-economic and political landscape. It's a testament to how markets are not isolated entities, but are deeply embedded within the broader fabric of society. Let's pause for a moment and consider the implications of this case study. What it tells us is that the theory of supply and demand is not confined to textbooks or theoretical models. It's a living, breathing concept that evolves and adapts to real-world situations. It's susceptible to the whims of nature, the movements of people, and the decisions of policymakers. So, what can we learn from Jordan's water market? It's a stark reminder that supply and demand are not static forces, but dynamic entities shaped by a multitude of factors. It underscores the importance of understanding the nuances of the market, the external influences at play, and the role of government intervention. In a nutshell, Jordan's case is a testament to the intricate dance between supply and demand, a dance that is choreographed by both natural conditions and human factors. It's a fascinating study in the practical application of market theory, where the abstract meets the concrete, the theoretical collides with the practical, and economics comes alive. This real-world example highlights how the theory of supply and demand is not static, but evolves over time. From early Muslim scholars to modern economists, the theory of supply and demand has seen significant evolution. This theory is the backbone of economic thought, shaping our understanding of markets and their dynamics. Let's trace back to the 13th century, where the roots of this theory were being watered. A Muslim scholar, Ibn Taymiyyah, was one of the earliest to recognize the connection between the availability of goods and their prices. He observed that when a product was scarce, its price would naturally rise, and when it was abundant, the price would fall. This basic observation laid the groundwork for what we now know as the law of supply and demand. Fast forward to the 18th century, we meet the father of economics, Adam Smith. He brought a revolutionary perspective to the table. He proposed the concept of the invisible hand, suggesting that markets operate best when left to their own devices. According to him, individuals pursuing their self-interest would inadvertently benefit the economy as a whole, as their actions would lead to a balance between supply and demand. Then, in the 19th century, Alfred Marshall made a pivotal contribution. He introduced the concept of price elasticity of demand, which measures how sensitive the quantity demanded is to a change in price. This concept helps us understand that not all goods and services react the same way to changes in price, a vital insight for both businesses and policymakers. These trailblazers helped shape the theory of supply and demand as we understand it today. From recognizing the basic relationship between scarcity and price, to understanding the self-regulating nature of markets, and finally realizing the importance of price sensitivity, our comprehension of markets has significantly deepened over the centuries. Competition, a crucial component of markets, greatly impacts supply and demand. But that's a story for the next scene, so stay tuned. Competition is the fuel that drives markets, influencing both supply and demand. Now let's delve deeper into its role. Competition, in essence, is a contest or rivalry among businesses striving for the same customers or market. It's a key player in the market's stage, dancing to the rhythm of supply and demand. But how does this dance work exactly? Well, consider this. In a perfectly competitive market, there's a multitude of sellers, each offering similar products or services. No single seller can influence the market price, so they're price takers, not price makers. They compete by optimizing their production processes, reducing costs, and improving product quality. This fierce competition leads to an efficient allocation of resources, ensuring that goods are produced at the lowest possible cost. On the flip side, when competition is limited or non-existent, say in a monopoly, the single seller becomes a price maker. Without the pressure of competition, they can hike up prices and operate less efficiently. The absence of competition, therefore, often leads to higher prices and potentially lower quality goods or services. Furthermore, competition also impacts the demand side. Buyers have a plethora of choices in a competitive market, driving businesses to continuously innovate and offer better products or services. This healthy rivalry stimulates creativity, fosters innovation, and eventually leads to better and more diverse products for consumers. In the grand scheme of things, competition also plays a crucial role in economic growth. It propels businesses to strive for excellence, encourages technological advancements, and pushes economies towards progress and prosperity. So, as you can see, competition is not just about businesses vying for market share. It's a powerful force that shapes market dynamics, influencing the behavior of sellers and buyers, impacting prices, quality, variety, and even the pace of innovation. Understanding market dynamics, especially supply and demand, is crucial for both businesses and consumers. So the next time you're in the marketplace, remember the unseen forces of competition at play, silently shaping your choices and experiences. Let's recap what we've learned today. We started by unraveling the mystery of markets, understanding them as places where buyers and sellers come together to trade. We decoded the laws of supply and demand, discovering how these dynamics shape the prices and quantities of goods or services. We then explored the concept of market equilibrium, that sweet spot where supply meets demand. The real-world case of water in Jordan brought these theories to life, showing how external factors can dramatically shift supply and demand. We also journeyed through the evolution of these concepts, from early Muslim scholars to modern economists. Finally, we discussed the role of competition in markets, seeing how it can promote efficiency and value. Understanding the dynamics of markets and the principles of supply and demand is not just academic, it's a practical tool that can help you navigate the world around you. With a good grasp of these concepts, you can better navigate the market, whether you're a student, a consumer, or a business owner. Thank you for listening.